Heyo! What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Crash Bang Boom Drumming Podcast. Today's guest is Michael Martens of Atlanta's O'Brother. O'Brother came through Brooklyn while doing a short run celebrating the decade anniversary of their first EP, Death of Day. But we get into the reflections of touring a decade ago, hodgepodge kits with big cymbals, influences, and a crazy story about the haunted house they stayed in while recording the ever-so-haunting record, Disillusion. And with all this record talk, it's got me thinking I should give a shout-out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. Only the first independently owned record press facility in New Orleans history. If you're looking to put out vinyl for your next project, go on over to NewOrleansRecordPress.com to check out the many coloring, packaging, mastering options, and you can add it all up in the real-time quote generator. Need assistance with designer packaging? They can help, and they print both 12 and 7-inch records in 150 and 180 gram variants, and they print small runs of 100 and larger runs up into the thousands. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Check them out. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found on iTunes Podcast, my SoundCloud page, and YouTube pages, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, and more. If you like what you hear, feel free to check out any of the previous 150-plus episodes. Give me a like, a subscription, a positive rating, and/or a glowing review, and/or all the above. Is that too many and/ors? The support is appreciated, though. So without further ado, here we go. Michael Martens of O'Brother, and that's plural of Martin with an E, not an I. And not to be confused with the guy I went to junior high school named Mike Martin, not plural and with an I. And if you're wondering, he was most certainly not related to the actor Steve. So there you have it. All the information. Crash Bang Boom!
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, Michael Martens of the one and only O'Brother. What's happening, man?
Hello, hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's a good day when you come into New York and you don't hit any tolls.
Really?
Especially in a van and trailer. It's always pretty shitty. But
I feel like that's impossible
yeah, I
to
don't
even
know.
get into the...
I honestly don't know. Like we've struck gold on that a couple times coming in, and I always mean to like track what way you come in, but there are so many ways that it just kind of happens. We came up through Trenton, so I honestly don't know. We just cruised right through.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're getting a ticket in the mail for a missed toll.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's
not.
true. We'll see.
Yeah. How many times have y'all been here? Because I feel like I've seen y'all previously at Vitus before.
Yeah, I think we've been here one time before.
Okay, so I think I was at the last show then.
Yeah.
And how many times have y'all been through New York thus far? It's been quite a few.
Oh, like 12 to 15.
Thoughts? Wow.
Range. I mean, you know, we hit it like 3 to 4 times over like an 8 or 9 year period.
Right.
A year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, it just kind of adds up. Yeah.
Did y'all open up for one of the last Dillinger shows as well?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all were on one of those as well, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Monumental show.
Yeah.
Started off with 1, turned into 3, I think.
Yeah, we played, you know, supposedly their like farewell tour, but I know they kept on going. So, I mean,
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Keep going while you can.
Absolutely. Well, I know y'all are based out of Atlanta. I'm a fan of that city, despite being from New Orleans and being a Saints fan. So
All right.
complications happen in the sports realm, but in every other realm.
Well,
I dig it.
even in our like you know friend football world, there are definitely some Saints fans. So
Right on.
it's a point of contention. But my wife stays invested in that, and I just kind of, you know, for lack of a better way to put it, I just watch from the sidelines. I'm just I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, what is going on with this little run that y'all are doing here? How many dates?
9 shows in 10 days.
Okay.
They're bookended by a couple festivals.
Nice.
That we're doing. Yeah, we just wanted to add some shows in between. It's been, you know, the better part of over a year since we've spent any other real extended time on the road.
Yeah.
You know, we'll do the Stuffing, which is a little Manchester Orchestra festival back at home, but this and that are the only things we're doing this year. So, yeah, it feels kind of like just a respite from like home life.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. An excuse to get out.
Yeah, like we're having a great time there too, but it's definitely like summer camp. Like,
Right.
We have a couple, my brother and another really good friend that has played on a couple records but never toured or played with us.
Mhm.
They're both here.
Okay.
And
Road trip.
yeah, it's just super chill and really fun. And the other bands are really cool. Some of them we just met, the guys on Holy Fawn, but Soam, who's playing tonight, and on a handful of other shows, and then End of the Ocean, we both have pre-existing relationships with them. So
Nice.
yeah.
Why the slowdown in shows? Have y'all been writing, or just life shit, or what's been going on?
Both. I mean, Johnny did have a kid earlier this year.
I was about to say, I'm assuming someone had a kid.
Yeah, someone
There
had
you
a
go.
kid. All of us are married. And, just other things we were working on at home. But we've been writing and more or less recording for like the last year and a half.
Nice.
The record is mastered and done, and it's coming out probably at the top of next year. So
Really?
yeah, we didn't really, we've been like posting things that like we're jamming and writing and in the studio and stuff, but we haven't really been talking too much about it because it's
Good.
out.
Keep the mystique with it.
Yeah, and really it's just because it's at like a pretty chill pace. It'll be 2 years from when we started writing to when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you just kind of like take things as they come, and it's out when it's out.
How do you feel about it?
I feel amazing about it. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was really fun. The way we wrote it, like we started pretty much from inside of a computer. And so I didn't demo drums or write any drum parts till about 8 months in.
Wow.
I just went in one day and like I had like maybe 7 or 8 songs that I had ideas about what I wanted to do, and I just went in and it was Mike's day, and I just laid down some stuff, and then that eventually like evolved into like refining those and working them into like what we were actually going to record.
Gotcha. When it came time to record, did y'all work with the same crew, be it mixing, mastering, engineering, studio, etc., that you did with Endless Light? Because I was going to say, man, I think Endless Light. I mean, with the progression of your records, from Disillusion, especially the last two, up to the most recent one, the Endless Light sounds amazing, man.
The studio we did that out of, which isn't open anymore, was like a kind of a once in a lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. Opportunity, and it happened to be located in Atlanta. So that's the room.
What was the name of the studio?
It was
Blanking on the name of it?
Completely.
A once-in-a-lifetime studio that you can't remember the name of, but was amazing.
That we will insert in with your voiceover right here. It's the studio that's called
Southern Tracks in Atlanta, Georgia. Bam. All right, got it.
But yeah, the room was just immaculate, and
your drums sound especially killer.
Yeah,
the
like
bass tones, guitars, everything.
We did a lot of that live on that record.
That's what I was going to say. What's interesting about it, and it's something that I think you would want to have, or ultimately I would certainly want to have, is a studio record in the production sense, but something that retains some of the live power that you possess when you play. And I think that record has it. So that can be a hard thing to get. Sometimes things you can be overly cerebral about things, or things get too condensed, or it gets too far removed from the way that a band can play live and sound live in the presence. But I think that record is a great representation of what y'all do.
Yeah, it's been important for us on most of our records to at least get like bass and drums done together.
Yeah.
You can go and do overdubs and punches and stuff like that, but it's really important for us to capture, like, you need some of that live energy.
Sure.
So the record we're on this tour celebrating, the Death of Day, we did that all completely live together.
That was your first record, right?
Yeah, first real like EP.
Yeah.
We had a few little things before that, but this was definitely the first that we ever really championed in any way.
Yeah.
And did in a legitimate method. But yeah, so we and even starting from an electronic sense in this new record, we were able to get to a point where a lot of the songs took on live band kind of vibes that maybe we didn't even envision in the beginning, but we were able to get a lot of those moments with Anton and I playing together, and in some cases a couple of the other guys too. Yeah.
Anton being one of the two Dang brothers in the band?
Bassist, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's amazing. At first I was like, admittedly these two Asian guys look alike, and then I was like, wait a minute, you know what? I wonder if they're related. Oh, God, they're related. Okay, good. It wasn't just me saying something about Asian people.
Right.
I felt good about myself knowing that.
They wouldn't be hurt if you said anything about Asian people, but, they're definitely brothers.
Yeah, man. It's been how long since I guess that first record came out?
This is a 10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary. Gotcha. So you've been at it a decade just from that original release there. How long did the band exist prior to that?
In this iteration, a year and change. The concept of our brother started in 2006. Myself, Anton, Johnny, and our old singer Spencer at the time. But he left the band. We took, like 8 months to a year, kind of regrouped with the guy that played on The Death of the Day, Aaron, and also Tanner, who is still in the band.
Gotcha.
And really that started at like the top of 2008.
Yeah.
We started touring later that year and recorded The Death of Day like early 2009. It's crazy. It's like a lifetime ago.
How did y'all all know each other?
I've known Anton and Johnny. Well, I met Anton in 7th grade. So
Okay.
It's about 20 years ago or so.
Damn, y'all went to junior high school together?
Yeah.
Wow. Is his other brother younger or older?
Younger.
Okay.
There's 3 siblings. Anton, 2 years separated is Johnny. 2 years separated is Tito, who is my wife.
You married. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a dang in the family.
We're a very tight-knit band.
Yeah, I see that.
I needed to ensure the future of O'Brother, and much as royals tend to do, you merge families.
Yeah. Oh my God, man. So after y'all put that first record out, what was the reception, and how has that changed with the subsequent records y'all put out?
Well, that one, we were still touring. We were just grinding it out,
Yeah.
Like we'd started working with some of the guys in Manchester Orchestra, but we didn't at that point have a label or an agent or a manager, and those things kind of slowly started to happen. But I feel like, and even playing the songs now, like it's O'Brother, but it's got a little bit more of like a raw feel, because we were just doing things how we heard and felt that we should do them without little guidance, without little production from an outside perspective. These songs we recorded, in I think 5 days. We went and basically did a song a day.
Wow.
And then like maybe another week of vocals and overdubs because we were on a budget, and it definitely comes through. But I mean these songs are a blast to play. Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, this EP still slaps.
And what a great thing that is that you, for instance, because I've talked to people who have, the records that were recognized were ultimately in their really formative years, and sometimes in looking back in hindsight, they're not quite as proud of it. So if a decade ago you can be proud of something that you did, I would say that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And then here you are playing it a decade later as well, and still enjoying playing it.
Yeah, and that's what makes this tour so cool. It's just because of that kind of aspect. We're seeing a lot of people that. We had a couple that came up to the Nashville show that are from Orlando that met at that same venue 10 years ago when we played it, playing the Death of Day songs.
Wow.
That recently just got engaged. So it's like every venue we go to, we're talking to someone who has some story from a decade ago about like spending time with us, or like people that we're still close to these days. It's just like a celebratory mood that everyone is kind of taking on, and yeah, it's cool.
Nice. Yeah, I think I found out about y'all via maybe just after Disillusion was put out. I went back at some point, and what's the first full length was Garden Window. Yeah, that one as well has some great songs on it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I can't honestly point to how I even found out about y'all. I don't think it was one of my. It might have been like, you might like this band,
right?
Via whatever I was listening to or buying music on. I don't know. But somehow your name got brought up. I was like, oh, this band's cool. That's literally how I know about y'all. It's just the bizarre world that is the internet. Sometimes
we'll take it how we can.
Any way
get it.
you can get it, right?
Yeah,
that's the way it goes. To circle back for a second, like I said, in listening to the records, I think they've gotten progressively more big and powerful in their production. And like I said, I really dig the way Endless Light sounds. Disillusion as well sounds really cool. I was just wondering if you worked with some of the same people on both of those records, or that maybe that wasn't the case?
In some ways we did, not in terms of recording and like mixing and stuff. We actually, for that record, we went out of state and spent like a month on Long Island.
Really? Recorded that out here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and we spent a month out there. We had basically written everything and just showed up and recorded it.
And spent a month out there?
Yeah, with Mike Sapone.
Really?
Yeah.
That is amazing. Huh. Well, I'd have to. I'm terrible about Long Island Geographic, so I don't know that I know exactly where it is. But was it in the summer to where you could go hang out on the beach?
No.
Oh man, that's too bad. Assuming
Hell
you're
no.
a beach person.
Actually, it was like
Dead of winter.
the end of January.
Ooh, okay.
It was a really dark time.
Well, that's a dark record.
We stayed in a. It is, and
It's a very dark
and we
record.
talk about it all the time because I mean those songs, you know, they were written before that. Also, the entire recording process, like we Airbnb like the top level of this house that maybe a 70-year-old widow was living at, and she didn't really tell us how, but she said her husband had recently died.
Whoa.
Pretty sure in the house. She stripped everything up top, moved downstairs, and like sublet the top. There was no furniture. Like we brought like air mattresses and things. It was freezing.
Whoa.
I believe Tanner woke up one day with like scratch marks on him. It was a whole thing, man.
You slept in a fucking haunted house and recorded this haunting record.
Yeah.
So maybe he got scratched by a ghost, and maybe, you know, God only knows what else violated in the middle of the night. But hell, I'd like to think that it was
Johnny.
worth it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it was a blast.
Taking
but
one for the team.
It was definitely like a crazy period, and every ounce of that is reflected in the record, I think,
Yeah.
in good ways, but
Yeah.
also in very like subliminally mesmerizing ways for us. We have some pretty strong emotions tied to that whole process.
I bet, dude. Well, going back to Endless Light, or even previous records, is it part of y'all's deal that when you go into the studio, you use equipment that ultimately you're going to play with live? Because I feel like you have a pretty distinctive sound, and part of that is playing specific equipment and being consistent with that. So even like with your drums, for instance, what you used in the studio on Endless Light, is that pretty close? Or are you playing the same drums live that you did in studio?
About 92%. I mean,
90.
I always start with my kit just
Yeah.
because that, especially as an acoustic instrument, I feel like that's my sound. Those are the drums that O'Brother has had since 2000, pretty much 2011 is kind of what I've been settled on that with.
Are you playing a 14x8 snare, by the way?
It is, I think it's only 6.5 inches deep.
Right on.
But it's a 14, and then a 24x18, like 72 Ludwig kick drum. And
They're usually shallower depths, but what year did you say?
I said 18 also. It's a 24x16, so it is like kind of a mid depth.
Okay. They're usually
I think it's
by
around
14.
72. Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay.
I got it on eBay. So the badge referencing that I could really lock down, put it between like 72 and 74. And then I have like a 70s Pearl 18-inch floor tom that I use, and I mean that's pretty much it. A couple like big ass cymbals.
Yeah,
but
I like that you play big ass cymbals.
There's Zildjian K lights, a 22 and a 24.
They sound great.
And they're
it's a
awesome
bitch when you crack 'em.
recorded, and I know.
Bitch to replace.
It's like a $550 cymbal.
Oh, dude, $1,000 in between two cymbals.
Yeah.
Oof.
But it's not, but they sound amazing.
They do.
And I bought them by chance, around 2011, and I've been playing not those exact cymbals, but that make and model.
Yeah.
Ever since, because it's just it's simplistic.
Yeah.
But it sounds amazing recorded, amazing live, and I like big drums and snares that have a good crack in them.
Yeah. The snare they play is a Ludwig as well?
Yeah, it's a LB 402.
Okay.
Which is a chrome over brass, and it's seamless. It's a
Nice.
cousin of the Black Beauty.
Yeah, the Black Beauties are badass.
Yeah, and I AB'd like this snare, a Black Beauty.
Superphonic?
Yeah. I had like 3 or 4 out when I got this snare, which is the same time I ended up with these cymbals. And this one just had more range out of it, and depth and clarity.
I'm a fan of brass snares.
Yeah, it's got the chrome over it too, so it's like a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But it's not too loud, but it's loud as fuck. Like,
yeah.
Which is cool. And
I'm a fan of metal snares in general. I just actually bought an old 70s Gene Krupa Slingerland snare, and apparently those are brass snares with chrome over them as well, which I didn't realize. One of my friends had one 20 some odd years ago, and I always dug it. And I was like, one of these days I'm going to get one, and I found one that is basically mint. It's like, it's a crazy deal. It's so nice I don't even want to play it.
That's awesome.
It looks so good, and it sounds great. I'm like, I bought little gloves to handle it, you know? I'm like, fuck, I don't want to smudge this thing out with my gross, dirty fingers.
Right, just wrap it in cellophane.
Yeah, exactly. Just stick it in some sort of a closet and imagine how good it would sound when I was
Right.
playing it.
Right.
I actually bought another one. I bought an acrylite snare as well. I was like, this thing looks pretty mint. I get it. It has the original snares on the bottom, which I've never seen before. I think it's late 70s acrylite, and the original snare bottom head, and I'm pretty sure original snare head on the top. All Ludwig heads. And I was just like, so I basically bought 2 snares recently. I'm like, I
need
want to
2.
look at these, and I love them, but they're so mint. I feel bad fucking them up. Oh, well, I
Yeah.
got to figure it out. Drummer problems, first world problems, whatever.
I know, right?
Yeah, man. But I talked to Greg Clifford recently he plays in White Denim out of Austin, Texas, and I was joking that when I see a drummer who plays a smaller dimension vintage kit and plays big cymbals but at a particular angle, I'm like, yeah, he's a jazz guy. But in your case, you're playing big shell drums and big cymbals, but not necessarily at like the jazz angle.
No, they're flat.
They're flat. Yeah, you're hitting them right in, and you put them
They're
up.
flat and a little. They're higher than they used to be, but they're also low enough for me to kind of come straight down on them, but also have control over it. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun to play. It's a fun setup. Normally I have a 18 and a 16, but on this run I have just an 18 because we have a 6th member with us, Rob, who I was talking about earlier. So the stages are tight, so it's just a lot easier to be like, I don't need this other one.
Yeah. Well, with the 6th member, so how many guitars do y'all have on stage? 'Cause normally
Still 3.
It is 3? So it's 3 bass drums. What is the 6th guy playing?
He's doing auxiliary percussion and a lot of keys and synth stuff.
Sick.
Yeah. Then on the Death of Day, there's a lot of harp parts and piano and bells and stuff like that he's
Cool.
just kind of replicating. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. It definitely helps fill it out. It's really cool.
I mean, you're already filling it out.
Yeah.
So now you're extra girthy.
Exactly. All of the girth.
All of the girth. So we talked about the kit that you presently have and whatnot. Going back to how you originally found the instrument, what's the story with that?
Anton, Johnny, and I pretty much just picked instruments, more or less.
With the goals of potentially being in a band together?
With the goals of being Blink-182.
Were y'all obsessed with Blink-182?
Yeah, head over heels.
That's amazing. You know, they played here at St. Vitus recently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they played here like 3 weeks ago. Just at an impromptu show.
How was it?
I wasn't here. I found out about it after the fact. I just saw it via Instagram, people posting footage of them up on stage. You know, it sounded good from what I could tell.
I haven't listened to one of their records since Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Like, it's literally been, it's been forever.
Yeah.
Not sure what really happened, but it's gone. It's a distant part of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, we knew we were gonna be playing music, and my parents, their parents, took us to the music shop, and I ended up on drums somehow. I originally was playing guitar when I had first met them. No aspirations to do anything with it, but I bought a little 4-piece Starion kit. Starion.
I don't think I even know that brand.
That sounds about right. I mean, it was just like a $300 my first drum kit kind of thing. I mean, I was 13 or so, so it was a full size kit, but nothing that would ever last or ultimately sound phenomenal.
Right, and you hadn't played drums or done any percussion stuff prior to that, so your foray into the instrument was directly to a drum set.
Pretty much.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Before Oh Brother, we were playing in a pop punk band, and I had a really big Pearl Session Select. I don't know why I got it. It's just the one that I ended up with, and I'm looking back I'm really not a fan of it.
Yeah.
But I'm also not a massive fan of Pearl in general. I respect it, because of what it is in the industry. But
and your floor tom's one of them though, right? But it's an older one.
It is, yeah. I respect it in context of if the drum sounds good.
Of course.
Ultimately, it really doesn't matter what it is.
Agreed.
The 16 that I play with it doesn't even have a name. It's a drum that we found in a garage that I stripped the veneer off and just stained it, and it sounds awesome. So it's not
Nice.
that I care for. I think that's after the Pearl set, I kind of stopped caring about the brand so much, and that's why my whole kit is just like a hodgepodge.
So, if in thinking about the music that you grew up listening to, aside from the pop punk stuff that was an influence in your early years and your early bands and whatnot, are there any particular bands or any particular drummers, for that matter, that were an influence to you then that you still kind of marvel at to this day, or did you get more into specific drummers once you really found the instrument?
I kind of see my drumming career like in a couple phases. You know, like you have the time where you're just like, you know, like I was talking about before, like I'm just behind a drum kit and I'm flailing my arms, you know,
Right.
like maybe I'm reading some magazines and things like that. But when I was younger, I didn't feel like I really knew anything about drums. Maybe I don't know anything about drums now, but but I have an opinion, you know, based off of my experience. So I feel like what's most relevant to me these days is, you know, like I remember hearing, for me, really actually listening to Thrice for the first time, which was late. It might have only been like a year or so before we ended up touring with them.
Wow.
All the other guys had gotten into them like way on like Artists in the Ambulance days. I think I had heard them, but I just wasn't into that kind of music at the time.
Yeah.
And when I, you know, heard them later on in life, Riley was just doing everything that I would have done for the song, and then later on getting to tour with them and watch him play drums, I feel like seeing his style and knowing that it was similar to what I was, you know, aspiring to write, and then seeing how he played it really changed how I play drums live now.
Right.
You know, he's just always been so like relaxed, focused on, like, not overly focused on posture, but like he's got like amazing posture, and he's just like focused on being in the pocket and chilling, and like you don't have to go crazy, and like you can be an interesting drummer just because you're playing so well, you know?
Right.
Like,
I think that philosophy's carried over to you. I would say everything that I hear you play is very thematic and really musical. I think it sounds great in context to what you're surrounded by in O'Brother. So conceptually, it sounds like that has tied to your play later
Right.
in life.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
And it ends up, and you were a fan of the guy in the band, and then you all go tour with him, and then you can watch him every night.
Yeah, in which it just kind of like expedites your learning process. You
Sure.
know? You know, it's not that we'd sit down and have like hour-long conversations about drumming all the time, because I've never been like a drum nerd. Like I know what I know, and I like what I like, and I like hearing about cool things or seeing something. But it's more based off, I see a big fat snare drum somewhere, or I see, you know, some other cool little trinket that I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm never searching them out, you know,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I love talking drums, but I definitely am never the one to, like, I'm not a gear guy. If I was a guitarist, I would have my pedals, and that would be it until someone said, hey, you'd probably like this pedal. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time reading about them, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, you know, I let gear nerds talk to each other, and I just sit back until I can jump in and relate.
Sit on the sidelines, as it were.
Yeah.
So once you get your kit, you've gone through these bands and whatnot. O'Brother is happening. In the early days, where there's some strange gigs that y'all play, because generally speaking, when you're getting out there, going on it alone, a lot of times you can end up playing the most fucked up shows. So did you play some weird ass shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like in abandoned mini malls, kind of
Really?
like not like a strip mall, but like,
Yeah.
it's basically a mall. There's an escalator, you know, and it's more or less abandoned, except someone turned it into a venue. But they, you know, they don't have talkback mics, and like front of house is maybe 60 yards away from the stage. And granted, keep in mind, there's like, people don't come to shows here. You
Yeah.
know, this is in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, that's amazing, dude.
And
I just talked about Shreveport on the last episode.
I mean, it's an interesting place for sure.
I wouldn't want to live.
We
I'm
have-
from
we have
Louisiana.
we have a lot of awesome friends from there that we haven't seen in a long time, probably since, you know, we were touring on these songs. But
Wow.
you just like crazy, like they're screaming at each other, you know, from 60 yards away, and then I have tattoos, and one guy comes up to me and says, hey, that's cool, you got tattoos, and like pulls up this back of his shirt, and he has like, you know, 14-inch like swastika, and I'm just like, great, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, what do you
know,
say,
like
right?
anything to not
have to deal with him,
to not
beyond
address the situation.
Yeah, for real, dude.
You know, he was nice. He was seem like an okay dude, but then, you know, obviously you pulled that up, and you know, that's the kind of shows that we found ourselves getting into the early days.
Absolutely.
But these days, you know,
Not
we try
so
to be a
much.
little more selective. You run into, obviously, like traveling, you see crazy things, and you definitely run into, you have your fair share of experiences that are like way left of center.
Yeah.
But I think definitely, you know, those kinds of experiences, we've learned some warning signs to like look out for at this point.
Well, it's the irony. I think a lot of the kind of iron sharpens iron kind of scenario where maybe when you're a band and you feel like the world is against you and it's you against the world, and you have the adversity and you're playing shit shows and you kind of bond through all that, and then as band get bigger and bigger, they get further and further away from that, and the shows become more and more monotonous. It's just like, all right, we're just driving, we're setting up, we're playing, and then you just repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Right.
And it can feel like Groundhog's Day. But there is something fun, at least in hindsight, when you think about every show was different because you were like, what is going on here?
I mean, I wouldn't trade those years for anything.
Right?
We were sleeping in the van, eating out of trash cans. Like,
come on, really? Dumpster diving, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's things you do with your friends when you're like in the middle of Arkansas and you have no money, but you're playing music. You know, like you're on tour with 3 bands that you are best friends with. I mean, at the time, that's just what you do. You're literally just like surviving.
Right.
I guess.
I mean, it's a testament that y'all could be in a van, living like y'all are living, and still all be friends.
10
and
years
still,
later, yeah,
and still
be good.
enjoy not
Yeah.
only being in a band, but just even each other's company potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it tests you, you know, like.
Of course.
But I can say for O'Brother, we're an actual family. You know, some of it by marriage and the rest of it by just experience and life. And we're with each other all the time when we're home. Spend Christmases and, you know, things like that, celebrating each other. And, you know, to know that I've spent, let's just call it at least a minimum of like 1,000+ days in a van with the same people, like that's a long time. But here we are.
It's also a testament to a band that at the level that y'all are at, that everybody's been able to sustain themselves when not touring, because that's a thing,
right? And
then still have the availability and the flexibility to do tours, and continue to be interested and invested in it.
Yeah,
like it's nearly impossible, man, keeping a band together for a decade.
Yeah, I mean the failure rate of musicianship is massive.
Massive,
you know. But luckily, I've been playing with the same group of people for, you know, 98% of my musical career.
Amazing.
So I try not to forget that a lot, because I could have gone through 8 different bands looking for this, and I didn't have to.
Hit pay dirt.
Exactly.
Right on. Well, when you go back, what do you have going on between now and the record coming out?
Just finishing up some details there, some artwork, and a release plan and exact kind of things like that. We're doing the stuffing in November. Otherwise, I mean, we're just kind of hanging out with our new Obro baby that was born earlier this year.
You make it sound like y'all all live in a commune. Let's just say y'all do. I like the story.
I mean, I like the story too. We definitely would like to get a plot of land somewhere one day.
Home studio, man?
Yeah, we don't have to get weird, but we just want to get close.
Well, Michael, it was great talking to you. Thanks for catching up. Best of luck going forward. I look forward to the new record. And, hey, 2020 should be a good year.
I hope so.
All right, y'all. Thanks to Mike and O'Brother for putting on such a killer show, and thanks to St. Vitus for continuing to make it happen. Be on the lookout for the new O'Brother record and what hopefully sounds like early 2020. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good year. That's what I'm thinking. You heard it here. Catch y'all in the next round. Crash, bang, boom.